What's going on, everyone? My name is Thomas Minert. I'm an agent with Remax Precision. I am getting a haircut today. I'm popping on. This is Thomas Talks on Thursday. This is a live stream I do weekly to talk about buying and selling real estate, to talk about the Des Moines area specifically, talk about the Des Moines market, talk about exciting things I think that are going on. And it's also a discussion. I do this live so people can ask questions live and I can give live responses and not just talk about what I want to talk about. It is a little bit about me talking about what I want to talk about and what I think is interesting, but I want to genuinely feel like I'm answering people's questions. I want people to have an idea of what it is like to talk to me face to face, what it's like to work with me, whether you're buying or selling or investing in real estate in the central Iowa market. And today I kind of thought we were having a discussion in our team meeting this week about telling people how good of a time it is to buy. And I kind of thought I would have a discussion circled around that. And normally I hate these kind of discussions, to be totally honest, because it feels like I started real estate 7 years ago, right? And it feels like ever since I've started, all I have seen is content online telling buyers it is a good time to buy for this specific reason. When I started in 2017, interest rates were going down. There was a healthy amount of inventory on the market, and that's all they were talking about. We hit COVID, interest rates dropped even further. Prices were increasing, but the buyer's agents were saying, hey, interest rates are as low as they're ever going to be. We're never going to see interest rates this low again, which we were all right. We were never going to see interest rates this low again, but prices were also increasing. But they were saying these interest rates are outweighing those benefits, right? And they were saying, hey, it's a good time to buy. And then as interest rates went up, inventory climbed. So now buyers agents are saying, inventory has climbed. It's a good time to buy. So I wanted to get into what would actually be a good reason to buy and look at the market and say, hey, these are some good things going on in the market. You should buy. And then I also wanted to flip it and actually have a conversation. What are some legitimate reasons that I think you should wait? And what are some illegitimate reasons that I think you should wait? Right? I think no matter what market we're in, you could make an argument to buy. And just on a grand scheme of things, and I will probably get into this a little bit more, I think if you know you want to live in a certain area and you know you want to be a homeowner, you understand everything that goes into owning your own property, you should probably buy no matter what market it is, but you should understand what the advantages are and what you're getting into before you get into it. So let's start. I had a few people comment on the post that I put up last night with their thoughts, and I didn't have time to put them on the slide, but I'm gonna read them off really quick. Matt Andrews, shout out to Matt, one of my day ones, said, buy now if you're thinking about it. You never know what the market will be like, but it also depends on how much of a hurry you're in. You could potentially wait out the market and it might get better. Um, if you can wait, keep an eye on things, look for the right opportunity. I think that's a decent sentiment. I'll talk more about waiting out the market here in a bit. Jared Nicolaisen, who is one of my preferred mortgage lenders, great dude. He's also a really good person to have conversations about this type of thing with, as far as am I personally ready to buy? And he's not the type of lender that's just going to get you approved and say buy, buy, buy. He's going to talk about potential reasons that you should wait, and I'm going to talk about potential reasons you should wait later too. He said, if you want flexibility, rent. If you want stability, buy. So let's get into it. I'm going to pull up first. Let's do this. There we go. Cool. I like that. Okay. Reasons to buy now. There is more inventory right now than there's been in a while. We have officially past inventory wise what we were before COVID, which is a really, really good sign for the market. If you're looking at just bulk Dallas and Warren County together, we have currently 3,506 listings at the end of June, whereas at the same time, June 2022, which was kind of the tail end of the COVID boom, we were sitting at 2,377 listings. So you're looking at 1,200 more listings. There's just more properties to look at, which if you're trying to find the right fit, more listings is never a bad option. That's a real positive of the market right now. There's just more stuff to look at, which helps make you easier decisions. There's more concessions than there has been in the last 4 or 5 years. If you look at just West Des Moines, in the last 6 months, listings are selling 1.3% below list on average. Now that's an average, and that's 1.3% below what it was currently listed at. I don't even have a metric to show you how far, on average, how far they off of their original list price. That number takes a little bit more work to do. I didn't have time to pull that up. But price decreases are becoming more common. Concessions are becoming more common. And what can you do with concessions? One, you can save a lot of cash. So, for example, someone that's looking, and this is, I'm just talking about first time home buyers, someone that is looking for help with cash, you could get, there's so many options out there for you, but like you could get a 3.5% down loan. You could get approved for an IFA grant, which is going to give you down payment assistance, cash to close assistance, and you could get a concession from the seller. So if people pull this off right and offer on the right property, they could go zero down. It is totally possible. And then you have VA loans. If you qualify for VA, you can go zero down. There's USDA loans. If you're not looking to be in the metro, you can go zero down. There's so many options to go zero down. So if cash is your concern, there's options right now out there to very easily go zero down if cash is what you're worried about. You can also use that 1.3 below list on average to just get a better price on the home, and get a deal. Now, I will say a majority of what first time home buyers are going to be looking at, if you're going to be looking in a market that's either a neutral market or maybe even a seller's market. So it really is house specific, but there are deals out there just because there's more inventory than there has been in the last few years. The other biggest benefit of buying as soon as you can is to just get in on the appreciation game. Iowa homes have appreciated on average 3.3% year over year for the last 20 years. So in the last 20 years, that includes 2008, 2009, which is one of the few years in the Iowa market that we've seen depreciation. So a majority of years, people are seeing appreciation, and I'll talk more about this later for illegitimate reasons, but the sooner you can get in and have that home, the sooner you can start to enjoy the appreciation. You can start to enjoy the compounding effects of appreciation, and you can kind of start getting yourself on the rolling downhill. A lot of people get discouraged when they buy their first home because they see that amortization schedule and they see how much interest they're paying, but that schedule is not showing you just how quickly and how easily appreciation can stack up, and your home starts going down in value. You start paying down the principal more and more every year. Once you hit like year 6, year 7, you really see, oh my gosh, I've stacked up $100,000 in equity. In some crazy situations. And that's not even that crazy of a situation. The equity can just really, really start stacking up really, really quick. So if I'm talking to a first-time home buyer right now about reasons to buy, these are some of the 3 things that I mentioned. The other answer kind of is sort of, it depends. What are you looking for? Because some people are looking for stuff that would be considered more of a seller's market. And I'll be honest with people, it is a little bit more tougher, but it really does come down to, like, do you want to be a homeowner? Do you know for sure where you want to live? Cool. I would advise you to get in the game as soon as possible. The whole do you want to be a homeowner thing is a whole separate personal conversation. So let's let's get into, I'm going to go to the next slide and I'm going to start talking about reasons personally I think you shouldn't buy. Um, One, if you know for some reason that you have a big pay raise or some sort of big windfall coming, I think it would make sense to wait. So I've talked to people before that have a big settlement coming in, and the settlement will be enough for them to put 20% down instead of doing the 3.5% down that I was talking about earlier. I think that that's a legitimate reason to wait, even if that settlement that is about 20% of what you're looking for, even if you're not putting that all in as a down payment, it's just nice to be able to move in and immediately have a lot more extra cash to do repairs or improvements or just to feel more comfortable with your situation, you know? And then the pay raise, if you know for some reason you have a big pay raise coming, and this would be more of a detailed conversation to have with a lender. A big pay raise will really, really change your debt to income, right? And the more your debt to income can get improved, the more your budget will increase, and you can go from looking at a house that's $200,000 or under to 250, and that starts to really, really change the inventory that you're looking at. And it could put you in more of an advantageous position because you have more inventory to look at and you have more room to find homes that are willing to negotiate and willing to make a deal with you. You just have more houses to look at, and that puts you in a really advantageous position. Okay. Another legitimate reason I think you should wait is you're uncertain about your job or you're uncertain about your personal situation. So, a lot of life changes you can't anticipate. Um, but if you step back and take an honest assessment, I hate to talk about this word, but like if your relationship with your spouse or long term significant other is kind of rocky, it might not be the best idea to purchase a home with them because buying a home and then having to sell it a year later because neither of you can afford it is unfortunate, and it puts you in a really, really tough position. So you want to feel really, really locked in with that. I mean, don't tell my wife that I said this, but the biggest commitment I ever made was actually putting her on my mortgage. It wasn't when we said I do and got this ring, to be totally honest. And then uncertainty about the job. It's hard to uh, anticipate being let go, but a lot of people I talk to that have been in that situation could sort of see it coming. So if there's any uncertainty as far as that goes, that's a legitimate reason to wait. Needing time to improve your credit score. A better credit score can open the door to a lot more mortgages. It can open the door to better interest rates. So if you start the process with a lender and you're below that 580, and he can put you on a game plan to get above that 620 or get above that 640 or get above that 680, it's probably worth it to wait until you can get to that next tier to open up more loan options. Those are all what I consider legitimate reasons to wait right there. And I am one of the few agents that I know that's actually sitting online and talking about this stuff. But not buying a home is not the answer for anyone. The other thing I didn't put on there is just lifestyle, right? Owning a home is a responsibility. You have to keep up on maintaining it. There's no landlord to call to get repairs done for you. And some people just need to take an honest look at themselves and be like, is that a responsibility that I want? Do I want to put up with the pains of renting? Do you have the conveniences of renting? Because, like, me personally, I was tired of living in an apartment with a shared dog park. I wanted to be in a house and have a backyard for my dog, take more ownership of my property, make improvements of it if I wanted. I wanted to house hack instead of sharing rent with a roommate. That roommate moved into this house with me and paid part of my mortgage and paid my principal down without me actually putting any money in. All I had to do was share a bedroom and a bathroom with them. It was a really advantageous position. That's what I personally wanted. But when talking about homeownership with people, you have to honestly make an assessment yourself of, is this something I really, really want? You know? And a lot of people, um, they don't want it at certain parts of their life when they're really, really young. Once they start building a family, that's when they want it. Um, I would even argue, though, if you know you want it once you start building a family and you're in a position to buy that starter home, even when the relationship is young, as long as you know it's serious, it would be advantageous for you to buy earlier. But you have to make that honest assessment too. Job uncertainty too also could lead into just like, do with the current job that I have, is there a potential for me to, well, like my cousin, for example, works in news. She is moving a lot because she's moving to bigger and bigger markets to get better jobs producing the news. So someone that knows that they might be moving next year, it might not be the best idea for them to purchase a home unless they have an alternate exit strategy outside of just selling the place, you know, because you really don't start enjoying the benefits of building equity unless at minimum you're going to be living in the house 5 years. That's the commitment. Is this isn't a 1 year lease. This is a place that I could see myself living in 5 years. If things go really, really well, could I move and upgrade sooner? Yes, but just to be on the safe side, 5 years. Am I going to be here 5 years minimum? And even better if you could see yourself living there even longer. But I've sold homes to people that they said, "Yep, I 7, 10 years I can see myself living in this place," and then they call me 3 or 4 years later, I want to sell it. So just have that game plan in mind. You know, this is going to be kind of a quick one, but let's go to the next slide. Bad reasons to wait. And it's funny because these are the reasons to wait I hear more than these reasons. So, let me go back to this too, because this is kind of an underrated thing too. Um, I've talked to a lot of people that are in really, really good rental situations that I think are a legitimate reason to wait too. If you have a rental that you're totally happy with and you're getting a really, really good deal on it and it's helping you save cash, it's helping you keep your budget tight. I don't, I mean, there's benefits of owning a home, right? And I've talked about them. Like, let's go back to this 3.3% average over 20 years. That's really, really good appreciation for something that you could potentially get for zero down. So you're putting no cash in. The second you do that, you're going to start gaining 3.3% in equity every year, compounding. It's a really, really good benefit. But if you're in a rental that is keeping your budget tight, helping you save cash, helping you save money for retirement, I don't blame you for staying. You know, rental situations can change. You're at the mercy of whoever owns the property. But if you're currently in a good situation, I don't blame you for not buying a house. You know, and these are all discussions that I'm not afraid to have with anyone. Like I'm not an agent that has the commission breath. I'm not the super pushy person. I do believe in owning a home. I own a home myself. I think the benefits of owning a home outweigh the benefits of renting, but everyone's situation is different and not everyone needs to buy a home. So, okay, waiting for interest rates to drop. Lower rates, one, are never guaranteed. I know that they are high compared to what they were in 2020 through 2023. Um, but it, if I had a magic 8 ball, right, and I can tell you, hey, they're going to be at 5.5 next spring, then maybe that is a reason to wait. Maybe. But nobody has that magic 8 ball. No one knows exactly what's going to happen. In 2024, a lot of the lenders were telling me, hey, we're going to be at 5.5 by the end of next year. The end of 2025 rolled around. hey, we're going to be at 5.5 by spring of 2026, and we're not there because there's so much uncertainty in the market. I mean, everything the lender is telling you is just lender or anyone predicting interest rates. They're just telling you based on the information that they currently have where they see things trending. But stuff is always changing and the market's always changing. And that adds a wrench into the predictability thing that makes interest rates change in a way that they couldn't predict. Sorry, I am really quick, just making sure I don't have any questions live. Cool. Uh, so it's really, really, I think, a bad idea to wait just because you think interest rates are going to go down. And reminder, this is just for first time home buyers because people that bought in 2020, 2021 that currently are in a house that has a really, really low interest rate, I don't, and you're happy in that house, I don't blame you for waiting for interest rates to go down, jump on it, buy that upgrade, sell your house in the seller's market. Because that's the other thing. If interest rates start to get down to the low fives, there's all the people that I think are a bad idea. There's all the people that were waiting for those lower interest rates that are going to flood into the market, and it's going to make the market way more competitive than it currently is. And it's going to make buying harder. Those concessions that I was talking about, they're not going to be as common. Inspections are going to be a little bit tougher because the seller knows that they can say no to your inspection request, just relist it and resell it. And it's going to increase prices faster than prices are currently rising, right? So, and then I also point out, say you buy at a 6.5 right now, and then a year and a half goes by, and the interest rates do get down to the low fives. You know what you can do? You can refinance. And I'm not going to say the cheesy date the rate, marry the house thing, because I don't love telling people to plan on rates going down. Afford that, buy the house you can afford at the current interest rate, get it fixed, and you can afford it at that. The only thing that is going to raise is your insurance and your property taxes, but you can afford it at the current payments. Make sure you're not stressed out about what those current payments are because they might increase a little bit. Like I said, taxes and insurance can raise. So it's not a fixed payment, but it's way more fixed than rent is, right? And then if interest rates go down, cool, enjoy it, refinance, get the lower monthly payment because interest rates went down. And you didn't have to compete with everyone when you were buying a house because you waited for interest rates to go down. The second reason I don't think you could wait is if you're one of those people that's online and predicting a market crash. A lot of those people that you see, they live on the coast. They live in California, they live in Florida, they live in New York. Bigger markets have bigger market swings. We live in central Iowa. We don't see huge swings. A lot of people saw some really, really good appreciation in 2020, 21, 22, 23. And a lot of people saw some really bad depreciation in 2008, 2009, 2010. Other than that, central Iowa has been steady Eddie, you know. Don't see big increases, don't see big decreases. It's just what our market is. So if you're seeing those people online that are saying a market crash is coming, it has to be a really, really severe market crash for us to see it in central Iowa. And the other question that I would follow up with is like, you have a personal life outside of the market that you have to attain to that you might not be able to wait on the market, right? So if you're going to wait and rent until the market crash comes, what if the market crash isn't going to come for 4 years and you wanted to buy a house this whole time? You know, what does that look like? Being stuck in an apartment or being stuck renting a house that you can't make any improvements to, you have no ownership of, and the rent for a house is more inflated than what your mortgage payment would have been right now. By the 4 years, that rent, I almost can guarantee you, if you rent a house for 4 years compared to what if you were to buy now, that rent is going to be higher than what your payment would be 4 years later. And if you buy a house right now, the equity you would have built in that 4 years while you were waiting for the market to crash is probably gonna outweigh the savings you get from whatever market crash you were trying to predict. I'm not saying house prices are always gonna go up. Um, that would be crazy to say, "Hey, every year, if you buy a house every year, your market price is gonna go up." But if you buy now and then we look at it 10 years later, 7 years later, I'd be willing to bet that the house is gonna be worth more as long as you're repairing it and maintaining it. I'd be willing to bet that the house is gonna be worth more than it was when you bought it. It's just that simple. Like, I'll bet on the Central Iowa market when it comes to that. Now, I'm not saying that if you buy today, right now, July 23rd, 2026, I'm not saying July 23rd, 2027 that the house is gonna be worth more. I'm saying buying real estate is a long game, but in the long game in Central Iowa, people see appreciation. And that goes back to the stats that I'm looking at right here. It averages 3.3% over the last 20 years. And that's me including the crazy down years and including crazy high years. That's Central Iowa. That's 20 years of data. So it's just something to think about. If you are watching this later, I appreciate you for watching. Even if it's after I've done this live stream, don't be afraid to comment with your questions. I will talk about it on my next video. If you have a whole new topic for me to talk about, I would appreciate that because I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. But I appreciate everyone for watching. I hope you think this conversation is interesting. I think this conversation, I would love to just talk to someone every day about what their situation is and if they should buy. And I would love to have these conversations as early as possible with people so I can start coming up with a game plan for them. The more time you have before you have to make that move, the easier and less stress-free it is for you. But I genuinely do think, based on all the data that I can find, in Central Iowa, if you're a first-time home buyer, I think it makes a lot of sense to buy. And it really, really depends person on person because I do think there are certain people that shouldn't buy. But if you see home ownership as something you want, if you see it as a responsibility that you want to take on, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I'm willing to sit down and talk to anyone about that. I'm willing to give them any data that they want to see, and talk in more detail about whether it's a good fit for them, and be honest with you. So those are conversations I'm willing to have. And I'm not always going to be the guy that says buy, because I really think it depends on the person. So have a great day, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.